In a rare press conference for foreign media representatives held in Jerusalem this past Sunday, August 10, 2025, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu revealed with uncharacteristic clarity and detail his post-war political vision for the Gaza Strip. Empowered by growing support from the Trump administration for his policies toward Gaza, Mr. Netanyahu shared 5 vital components of his military and political strategy for the besieged territory. First, although the bulk of the political opposition in Israel, including most significantly the families of the hostages, effectively continue to question his commitment to secure the release of the remaining 50 hostages, Netanyahu told his audience that, and I'm quoting him, discussions are underway within his government to develop what he called creative ways, i.e., he meant military means, to free the remaining hostages in Gaza, thus ignoring the fact that about 148 of the 251 original hostages have been released through direct and indirect political talks with Hamas. Indeed, ongoing political negotiations in Doha and Cairo aimed at reaching a hostage exchange deal between Hamas and Israel have been repeatedly subverted by Netanyahu and his cabinet colleagues. More importantly, the Israeli government's plan to expand and extend its military campaign in Gaza have generated public condemnation from key global powers like France, the UK, Germany, and others, in addition to UN officials concerned about the repercussions of these plans and potential violations of international law. Second, Prime Minister Netanyahu confirmed that the military offensive planned by Israel and incidentally supported by the Trump administration will be centered on targeting the 2 remaining Hamas strongholds in the Gaza Strip, namely Gaza City and the refugee camps in central Gaza. Netanyahu insisted in his press conference that his offensive would be, quote, the best way to end the war speedily, end of quote. He used emotional terms clearly void of moral or political equivalence by stating that, and I'm quoting him, we are facing neo-Nazis. We are not going to leave the remainder of the Nazi army in the equivalent of Berlin, end of quote. This is indeed a strange objective, particularly because the Israeli military and security leadership in Israel have already declared on several occasions that Hamas has been severely damaged and militarily degraded beyond expectation over the past 22 months of brutal fighting. Third, the Israeli Prime Minister declared in his press conference unequivocally that neither Hamas nor the Palestinian Authority, which is currently, of course, governing the West Bank, would be allowed to control Gaza after the war. This is incredibly significant considering growing international pressure for ending the war in Gaza and placing the Gaza Strip under Arab or international control of some sort, including potentially a reformed PA in Ramallah participating in the process. As an Israeli politician, Mr. Netanyahu is entitled to pursue a role for his party and its political coalition in the upcoming Israeli elections. However, he is not entitled politically, legally, or even rationally to dictate to Palestinians in Gaza or the West Bank as to the identity of their leadership. As the occupying power in Palestine, Israel is governed by the relevant conventional obligations and responsibilities specified by international law. These do not include, by any stretch of the imagination, sovereignty or the right to impose its preferred leadership over the occupied Palestinian territories. Fourth, Netanyahu revealed in more detail than in past statements that Israel intends to establish a security zone under its control surrounding the whole Gaza Strip, which will be run, according to him, by a civilian administration that seeks to live in peace with Israel. He specified that the next authority in charge of Gaza would not, in his words, educate for terrorism or launch terrorism. Mr. Netanyahu seems oblivious to the dismal failure of similar efforts by Israel between 1978 and 84 to impose such groups of collaborators to replace the PLO on the West Bank. This heavy-handed method failed in the West Bank and will face similar disdain and reaction by Gazans today. Fifth, Netanyahu credited his recent government's efforts with putting an end to the humanitarian crises in Gaza through its designated safe corridors and airdrops that, according to him, prevented hunger and brought down the price of food in the territory. Netanyahu informed the world press that, and I'm quoting him, 2 million people are getting access to aid, and the only ones being deliberately starved are the hostages, end of quote. Yet, numerous specialized UN agencies and non-governmental organizations insist that famine and starvation in Gaza continue to spread, showing no signs of abating despite recent Israeli and Western attempts at airdrops and other ineffective methods. UNRWA, for example, the United Nations Relief and Works Agency, confirmed this week that, and I'm quoting, for over 150 days, not a single truck from UNRWA has been permitted to deliver food, medicine, or other essentials into Gaza, end of quote. This denial of access, despite the media hype around the airdrop operations, is costing precious lives every single day in Gaza.